Hello, everybody. It's our very first WRWC Wednesday Live. We're coming to you live on Facebook and YouTube. And I'm JD Kraus, super excited to have you here with us. And with me is our awesome team, part of our team. And I'm going to introduce you to everybody here in just a little bit. But I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for the WCRA. We're going to throw out a lot of acronyms to you if you don't know who we are. Hopefully you do. World Champions Rodeo Alliance. And we are coming to you today talking about the first ever Women's Rodeo World Championships, $750,000 guaranteed payout that we're having in Las Vegas at South Point Arena coming up this November 3rd through the 7th. And so everybody that you see on this screen and a few people that aren't with us yet, they will be coming on other Wednesday live broadcasts talking about Women's Rodeo World Championships. But without further ado, let me introduce some great people here. First of all, what we're going to do today is we're going to cover the Women's Rodeo World Championships format breakdown, and then we want to answer your questions. And so at any time during this, no matter who's talking, don't hesitate on Facebook to throw a question into the chat. If you're on YouTube, you can throw a question into the chat as well, and we'll do our best to answer them. We might get to some of them at the end of our time here. We're planning on being here at least an hour. And so if you have to come in and leave and come back and check us out, just know that you can watch the replay later as well. So I want to formally introduce Sammy Jo Smith. She is our director of the VRQ, which is the Virtual Rodeo Qualifier. There's Sammy Jo. She lives in Wyoming. And Casey Duggan. Casey Duggan is our Director of Operations and Rodeo Administration. Casey's coming to us from Austin, Texas. He's proud to be back in the state of Texas. And Scott Davis is the Vice President of the WCRA. Scott's coming to us from outside of Stephenville, Texas. So glad to have everybody here. And what I would like to do now is going to turn it over to Scott Davis to just talk to us briefly about the origin of Women's Rodeo World Championships. So it's all yours, Scott.
Thanks, JD. You know, truth be known, I'm glad that we're taking the time to do this today. I think it's really important that everybody out there in the rodeo space understand our objectives with this event. It all started, I'm going to say, early to midsummer 2019, conversations with our partners at the PBR, where the WCRA produces our major events. Obviously, a tremendous 25, 26-year history in Western lifestyles and sports, and have pioneered and broken new ground at every level for sport and Western lifestyle, and on the media front as well. But, you know, I have to say that as most people know in the rodeo space, we as the WCRA were pretty instrumental in the elevation of breakaway roping. We felt very early on when we started our initiatives. In fact, we were the first to announce that we would add the breakaway roping in an equal money fashion, basically at the exact same level of the other 8 disciplines at the time. And so we're proud to have been a part of that explosion of breakaway roping and what it's done in the last couple of years. But, you know, not meant critically, but we continued to understand that the female athletes in the rodeo industry were tremendously underserved. And we felt like there was an opportunity, you know, at the competitive level, at the media level, to showcase the women in our sport. So the discussions began with the PBR. For us, to some degree or another, it's important to know that the WPRA had an opportunity to participate in this event, and was able to have a really good understanding of what our goals and objectives were, to produce this Women's World Championship, a standalone event, and pay a significant amount of money. Unfortunately, to date, they have not chosen to participate with us. But I want to say out loud that I believe that door is open and will remain open. We're about growing the sport of rodeo. This women's event is very important on a number of fronts. One, it elevates 3 of the main disciplines that women compete in. Actually 4 if you technically want to split the team roping, but obviously the barrel racing, the breakaway roping, and then the team roping, heading, and heeling. It's important to know too, while we expect some growth in that community as far as women competitors, part of introducing this large purse and paying equal money is to position the industry to grow in those 2 disciplines. So we're really excited to offer equal money or guaranteed money in each of the respective disciplines. As Casey and the rest of you and the rest of the team will get in throughout this discussion, the format of the event is very dynamic and provides a number of different ways for people to qualify and participate. Essentially, it boils down simply into a WCRA funnel and a open to the world funnel. But most excitingly, we're also using this event to introduce some tiering philosophies into the sport of rodeo in general, and we're extremely excited about that. Casey will talk more about that later, but we'll have our pro category of competition and our challenger or non-pro category, if you will. So there's the WCRA pools, there's the open to the world pools, there's the pro pools, there's the challenger pools. And there is a very, very, very dynamic way for you to participate and achieve the chance to compete for the largest amount of money in the 3 performances, or the 2 performances, 3 rounds of competition in the final 2 days of this event. So we're excited to continue to grow our partnership with the PBR. We're excited to offer $750,000 payout. We're excited to promote this event on all media levels possible. Ride Pass, Ride TV, the social networking and promotion that will occur leading up to it. And we're really hoping to elevate the sport for the women competitors out there. And we're excited. So without further ado, I'm just going to toss it back to you and let you guys get into this intense. I would just say, listen, if you are out there watching, or if you can't watch, be sure to go back to these social pages or our YouTube channels later and pay attention to the details and so forth that you and Casey and Sammy Joe will get into, because it's a tremendous opportunity for women. We're just glad to be a part of it, and I'll send it back to you.
Great. Thanks, Scott. You know, internally, we've had numerous conversations about this event. And one of the things that has stood out in nearly every one of those conversations is, you know, the barrel racers have always gotten an opportunity to compete at a high level, or as far as female disciplines, we feel very honored that the WCRA and leadership, even before I got involved, made a stand, added equal money in the breakaway roping, and have handed out a lot of money that the girls have earned. And what the conversation that we're also excited about is that the ladies are going to be able to compete in the heading and the heeling disciplines and run at that equal money. And we believe that it's going to just explode and expand, the sport of team roping specifically for women. And I know you're excited, Bobby's excited, everybody on this team is excited about just seeing what the ladies can do in team roping.
Absolutely. And, for me personally, I'm a fan of the sport of rodeo. Nothing gets my motor running like the very highest level of competition in the sport. And I remember back to some of those first semifinals and the final rounds and when all the money was on the line and these new introductions, it just the dynamic that it brought to the competition. And I'm sure if you talk to some of those ladies that were in those groundbreaking moments that have happened in breakaway roping, I think that they would tell you the competitive level and the energy and the pure sport of what we're doing, really exposed itself during those time periods. And like, for me, JD, that's why I get out of bed every day. So, I am really excited about what, these women team ropers, they can all execute their duties better than I could if you stuck a rope in my hand or planted me on a horse. But I'm going to be leaning up against the panel somewhere, or on the edge of my seat, wherever it's at in that final round of 6 and just watching it go down. So it's going to be cool.
Yeah. Plus, you now have a pigtailed little blonde-headed girl in your family that you'll probably be holding on the panel watching the whole thing.
I do, right? So yeah, if we can do what we want to for the sport and women, those that at the end of the day and our leadership buys into this to the T, that as we improve the opportunities in the sport of rodeo, it will inherently create growth and it will change dramatically for those who come after us. And that's a great point. Caught me by surprise, but yeah, I might have somebody swinging a rope here in 12 or 15 years. It's going to be running at all that big money. Hopefully it's 3 times what we're offering now, right? And we'll do this Facebook Live thing and we'll talk about, $3 or $4 million available to these women athletes. So that's what we're doing here. We're excited by the early participation. Again, the details are coming in the rest of this session that we're doing today, but nominations are off the chart. The women team ropers have responded much like we anticipated that they would in these first 2 weeks. We're going to let you tie on, this just the opportunities here are endless. And I hope that we can do a good job in educating everybody, about the dynamics of this event. And we're excited about it becoming an annual function. And, we're just, I'm glad to be here today to talk about it. I'm looking forward to everybody out there watching, to getting some of these details, and there'll be more to come. And if you don't have anything else for me, I'll let you guys get down and dirty and show these folks this dynamic format.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. So next, I'm going to bring in Sammy Jo Smith, our director of the VRQ. But if you've just joined us, welcome. We are covering the Women's Rodeo World Championships, the WRWC. You're going to hear that acronym a lot. The progression model, how you actually participate, how you qualify, how you're going to enter, the different paths in which you can end up at the top of the heap and have a big pile of money. We're going to talk about an all-around bonus. We have a huge all-around bonus that is a part of this thing. And, the highlight of this thing is $750,000 guaranteed money to be paid out equally amongst the 4 disciplines. And that's, in order of importance. No, just kidding. But heading, heeling, breakaway, and barrel racing. And so I knew that I would offend somebody if I ordered them in the order of importance, but I'm just totally kidding. But we're excited to show some love to the team ropers amongst us, the headers and the heelers, and share this with your friends. If you know a gal who ropes steers, by all means, shoot this link, share this link to this live, and we'd love to have them take a look at it. So I'm going to bring Sammy Jo Smith back in here. Welcome, Sammy Jo, our director of VRQ.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining. And I think I just have to take a minute, JD, before I dive in. And on behalf of the women in the sport of rodeo, this is such an exciting time and a lot of work that's been done, and the road that's been laid to get us here, and it's really just an exciting time. And I want to say I hope all of you ladies out there take advantage of this opportunity, because man, there's a lot of money to be paid out in November, and I'm excited to see these headers and heelers come out and show us their skills. And so that being said, as JD's mentioned, I'm the director of the Virtual Rodeo Qualifier, the VRQ as we like to call it. That is the app where athletes previously are familiar with the WCRA events, going in and nominating, earning points at any rodeo, anytime, anywhere, to advance to these big money events. And so as of now, actually as of May 18th, nominations are now open to earn points in the women's segment. We like to call it the W20 segment. If you have not registered in the VRQ, it's a really simple process. You just go to app.wcrarodeo.com, register yourself, and start nominating. Each week, we update the leaderboard on Thursday afternoons. This Thursday, actually, tomorrow, will be our first live leaderboard update for the women's segment. And the cutoff to receive points for the women's segment will be October 11th, 2020 at 11:59 p.m. So get out there, start nominating, start earning your points. I think there's some commonly asked questions that I just wanted to touch on really quick to help if there is any confusion out there. Who's eligible to nominate? So JD just touched on it, but ladies competing in barrel racing, breakaway roping, heading, and heeling can nominate open events anytime, anywhere, so long as the event has publicly verifiable results. And any female athlete ages 13 years of age and up are eligible to participate. Again, if you have questions about this, pop them in the comments. Otherwise, you can reach out to our team, and I'll touch on that here in a minute, how you can get a hold of us. I think the next question, what events are eligible? And so just like the past WCRA segments, the open events in barrel racing and breakaway roping, you can nominate. Something that's kind of new and applies directly to our team ropers is that header and heeler can now nominate all ladies events, mixed events, number ropings, pretty much anything that, so long as it's not a youth event, it's eligible to be nominated. So again, if you have questions, pop them in the comments or let us know. And then just lastly, go ahead, JD. Oh, you're muted. Thank
you. Can you hear me now?
Yep.
My sister-in-law ropes in the mixed ropings in the regional rodeos in Colorado. And so I think that it's really important to highlight this, that she can earn points roping with my brother-in-law and whomever else. She can usually enter twice, competing at the regional or amateur level or Colorado Pro Rodeo level rodeos, and qualify in the WCRA path to compete for W20, which is segment W20 for the Women's Rodeo World Championships. Is that correct?
That's right. So Casey here in a minute is going to really dive into how you advance into the event. But just to this point, as of October 11th, the top 64 headers and heelers from the W20 leaderboard will advance into the WCRA pool. So you're exactly right. Your sister-in-law could rope with any male in a mixed team roping, earn points, be 5th on the leaderboard, advance to the Women's Rodeo World Championship, and then pair up with a partner. And again, more details to come about how all the pairing rules and everything will work, but you're exactly right. Right now, we're looking at the individual headers and heelers, where they rank on our leaderboard. Then after the deadline of October 11th comes, you worry about pairing up and who you're going to rope with.
Great. What was the one thing that you were going to talk about before I rudely interrupted you?
No problem. So then just lastly, we have Nominate When You're In events that we are now starting to promote. Again, kind of more details of where that qualifies you, but we are now posting weekly on our Facebook page and on our website of those upcoming Nominate When You're In events. And if you're not familiar with what Nominate When You're In means, we have partnered with different producers, events, associations that are putting on big events. If you participate in those events and nominate them, and you're the overall winner at the event, you earn a qualification into our fast track pool. And again, more details of what that means, but be sure to check out these Nominate When You're In opportunities, because it's really just a direct buy into the event. So very exciting stuff. I highly encourage those of you that are interested in participating in the women's segment, visit womensrodeoworldchampionship.com. We have FAQs listed there, lots of great information, as well as our Facebook pages. So stay in tune, more info to come. And then, as always, if you have questions about nominations, points, leaderboard updates, you can also reach out to our support team by calling 833-368-3787. Or you can email us at support@wcrarodeo.com.
Great.
And that's all I got, JD.
Awesome. Well, I have to say that that you advocate, you fight for the women in rodeo. And from my perspective, I stepped away from rodeo for like 12, 15 years. And it seems to me like the women are just taking over rodeo. They're just taking over the sport. So, right?
Go ladies. Yep.
Awesome. Sammy Joe, hang around, because we're probably going to need you if somebody asks a question that us guys can't answer. So thank you for coming on.
Thanks, everybody, for joining.
All right. Well, now I want to bring in Casey Duggan. Casey is the Director of Rodeo Administration, and he's over all operations as well, Director of Operations and Rodeo Administration, Casey Duggan.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Yeah. Casey, just really quick, share with us a little bit about your background, because it is deeply entrenched in the sport of rodeo.
I've been in a lot of different places. I've worked for the PRCA and Procom. I've worked for PBR. I've worked for Copenhagen Skull. I've worked for Backcountry Rodeo, and now I'm at WCRA. So I've seen a lot of different angles of the business. My family's in the business, so I've been very blessed with different angles of learning in this sport. So,
yeah, great. So Casey is really going to dive into the details as much as we can get into today for the Women's Rodeo World Championships, the different paths in which you can qualify, whether or not there's entry fees or whether or not your entry fees are paid for. But we like to begin with the end in mind. And in preparing for this live Wednesday presentation, we felt like we wanted to start with the main event, because anybody who nominates to qualify in the WCRA path, or anybody who enters through the open path, or anybody who gets an opportunity to participate in the Nominate When You're In path on the WCRA side, you know, everybody's shooting to get to the big money. Everybody's shooting for that big all-around bonus, the big payday at the end of the rainbow. And so, Casey, would you just lead us through, starting with the end in mind, what the main event looks like?
absolutely. So the main event is a 2-day format, and 24 athletes per discipline will be in round 1 on Friday, November the 6th. So we will run 1 round for all disciplines. The top 12 fastest advance to the second round. Second round is on Saturday, November the 7th, and those 12 will compete in round 2. After round 2, the top 6 on a 2-run aggregate in each discipline will advance to the championship round. The championship round is the top 6 with a clean slate for the big money. And
Fantastic.
so it's going to be very interesting format. It is a 3-round progressive with a clean slate at the end.
So I'll take a second here. If you're just joining us on this live, either on YouTube or Facebook, welcome. If you're wondering what we're doing, we're talking about the Women's Rodeo World Championships. We call it the Women's Finals. We call it the WRWC. Bottom line is we're excited about it. And there's been a lot of planning and preparation. We've actually had a group of ladies who are icons in the sport from all facets of the rodeo business, have input into developing the structure, the format, the payout, and all those kinds of things. And so, we'd like to tip our hat to them and say thank you. Maybe in the future, when we do another one of these, we may invite a couple of them, 1 or 2, to come on. That idea just popped into my head. I think that would be fun. And but we're covering the format, how it works, how you qualify, how you compete, how do you make it to the big money. And again, it's a $750,000 guaranteed payout, equal money in all 4 disciplines: breakaway, barrels, heading, and heeling. The girls can tie on. We didn't talk about that. That's a big deal. And so if you handle a rope good and you like to heel steers, but you don't like to dally, come on, tie it on, and let's get it on. So carry on, Casey.
All right. So we'll start with the team rope and a breakaway format and the athlete progression, and then we'll show the differences in barrel racing at the end of this model. All disciplines are very similar through the bottom of it, but hopefully you guys can see the differences at the end and how we're working through this. So there's 2 main paths to the main event. One is through the WCRA leaderboard, and the second is through the open through the world. If you come in through the WCRA leaderboard or a nominate winning you're in, you pay 0 entry fees. If you come in through the open to the world, which you'll be able to enter twice in the open and have 1 run in the WCRA pool for a maximum of 3. The entry fees are $750, but we're going to start it off with an escalating entry fee scale with $500 and then $625 before we get to the $750 to give athletes an opportunity to get in early at a discounted rate. We will be announcing those dates before the end of the month as to when the entries will be available to the open. The first thing that's going to happen in each discipline is the fast track round. So anybody that has earned the nominate winning you're in that Sammy Joe talked about will compete in the fast track round. And that's up to 16 athletes per discipline. In the roping events, it'll be 2 runs with a top 4 aggregate moving directly to the main event. So four athletes in each division or each discipline will get a quick shot in the fast track to bypass all the qualifying rounds. The non-winners from the fast track will return to the open leaderboard pool, which is filled with leaderboards number 5 through 64. And I guess I skipped the fact too that if you're number 1 through 4 on the leaderboard, you're automatically seeded into the main event. So that's the 2 fastest ways to get into the main event: be number 1 through 4 on the leaderboard, or be the top 4 in the fast track round.
Fantastic.
The leaderboard round or the WCRA pool with the leaderboard and the non-winners from the nominate winning you're in are 2 rounds, with the top 4 fastest times in round 1 and round 2, and the aggregate top 10 advancing into the lead 18 round. The lead 18 round is 1 run with the top 6 athletes advancing to the main event. So currently we're at 14 athletes now selected for the main event. Non-winners from the WCRA pool will be allowed to re-enter into the open to the world. The open to the world pool the open to the world pools will be broken down between the pro and the challengers that Scott was talking about earlier. We'll be having more information about how these are put together or how these are selected soon. But for the team roping, we'll be using global handicaps. In the breakaway roping, we will be using a proprietary format that we're currently working on. And in the barrel racing for the pro and challenger, we'll be using Equistat reports. And again, we'll be announcing that information as to what that is soon. But the basics of it is the Open is broken down into 4 pools, a maximum of 4 pools, I should say. So between the Pro and the Challenger divisions, in the example I have here, in number 1 in the boxes is Pool A. If there was 300 athletes, 100 Pro and 200 Challenger. Pool A would be 100 Pro athletes. Pool B and C would each be 100 Pro athletes. From each of those pools, 4 athletes in the fastest time in the round 1 and round 2, and the top 10 in the aggregate will advance. So that's 18 athletes per pool of competition advance to the progressive round. I've got a couple extra examples on the side. For example, if there's 200 Pro, 300 Challenger, then Pool A and Pool B would be 100 each of the Pro, and Pool C and D would be 150 each of the Challenger. Our goal is to position the pools to where they're as equal as possible based on the four pool format.
Fantastic. And just to remind everybody, if you just joined us, we're covering the competition format and how you move forward in the Women's Rodeo World Championships coming up this November 3rd through the 7th in Las Vegas at South Point. And so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them into Facebook or YouTube. We get them both. And we have one right now. Casey, would you like to take this question here? What do you think?
Absolutely. I was just looking at that question. Allison, to answer your question, in the WCRA pool, yes, you have to pick a partner from the top 64 that have qualified. So as we get into that entry process, we will send a list out to all the top 64 to be able to pair up. Now, there's a couple different different places in how the team roping works. Just because you're roping with one partner in the top 64 pool doesn't mean that if you have a nominate win and you're in, that you will rope with that same athlete there, because that athlete that you partner up with in the WCRA pool may not be eligible to rope in the fast track pool. Can
you roll back to that slide where it shows the nominate when you're in, Casey, just so they maybe Allison could take a gander at it?
So again, in the fast track pool, the 16 athletes per discipline will pair up in that pool. And so if you are in that top 4, those athletes will move forward. And I know that there'll be some questions, and we'll get into some more team roping dialogue in another episode of this, or as you read the ground rules, because we've gone through a lot of conversations about how to make this work for everybody. So again, leaderboard, you pair up from the top 64. Nominate when you're in, you pair up from those 16 athletes. And then in the Open to the World, you will actually enter with your partner. So once you get through all of these pieces and you make it to the main event, we will allow the partners to repartner and repair if they want to in the main event. So for example, if you get through the fast track and it wasn't your original partner that you wanted to rope with, but due to the pairings available, you still advanced, you don't have to rope with that partner in the main event. You will have the option to select from the other partners in the 24.
And just know that with the WCRA, we've been handling this, specifically Sammy Jo and the team, that when entries close, I mean, she's fantastic with this. And so we do this all the time for our events. But any questions at all, drop them in. We have another question here. You want me to pull that up, Casey?
Yeah, Erica's question right quick while we're on that topic. Okay. Erica, to answer your question, in the fast track pool, that is the top 16 athletes. It is one group. So the Open and the incentive nominate winning your athletes will compete together in that. The only separation that we have in the Pro versus the Challenger is in those 4 pools in the Open. Once you get past that, or in any other position, it is all a mixed pairings and mixed group.
Let us know, Erica, if that did not answer your question. And then we have another question. Raylyn,
right now, as I noted earlier, the entry fees will be $750 per entry for the Open to the World pools. And that is the base fee, but we will be opening that up with a $500 early entry and a $625 midterm entry fee as we go through that process. As I said earlier, we'll be making those announcements on those dates here in the near future to let everybody know when the entries will open and that escalating fee scale.
Hopefully that answered it, Erica or Raylyn. All right. Carry on.
So, back to the open. Same format for advancing out of the pools, the 18 advancing to the progressive. So non-winners from the open to the world pool will have one more shot if they want to. They can re-enter in the redemption round, which will be one run, and the top 10 from the redemption round will advance to the progressive. Also from the Elite 18, the bottom 12 that did not advance from the WCRA leaderboard will also move to the progressive round to complete the progressive. So based on a 4-pool format, plus the Elite 18, plus the redemption round, you're looking at about 96 athletes in the progressive round for the last round prior to the main event. And that will be one run, clean slate, with the top 10 fastest times advancing to the main event.
So that's a pin your ears back and let her roll, right?
That's correct. That's your last chance to get into the main event, and it is a clean slate. So, and again, to emphasize what Erica was asking a while ago, that will be the pros and the challengers all in one pool together in the progressive round.
Our thinking in that is, and I've heard Bobby say this, that, you know, if you've earned your way into that progressive round competing against peers and you're hitting on all, you know, 8 cylinders, and it's going to give you an opportunity to go beat the pros, right? It's going to really showcase the best in that moment on that day. Let the best lady win.
Absolutely. And one thing we want to emphasize is the importance of the leaderboard. Besides the $0 entry fees, the basics of the 24 is weighted to the WCRA side. The top 4 in the leaderboard, the top 6 from the Elite 18, the top 4 from the fast track. That's 14 of the 24 come from the left-hand side of the board, with 10 more coming from the open to the world. In addition to that weighted structure, if you're number 1 through 4 on the leaderboard, not only do you not pay entry fees, you get 1 complimentary stall, and you're going to get a hotel room for up to 3 nights. If you're a Nominate winning you're in athlete, whether you're in the, you know, those 16 athletes, not only are they getting their entry fee covered, but they're also going to get 1 stall for the week. So there's just additional incentives to go look for those opportunities to either be 1 through 4 or even to go win a Nominate winning you're in exemption.
Right. And you can compete in the WCRA path, and you can also enter the open to the world path as well. Correct, Casey?
That is correct. So you can earn your way into the leaderboard via the W20 standings, and that's one position. You can also enter the open a maximum of 2 times. So if you're on the WCRA side, you could have 3 opportunities at the main event. If you're coming in just through the open, then you have 2 maximum opportunities. And one thing that we want everybody on the WCRA side of the leaderboard to understand is if you buy into the open early on, and then you end up being in number 1 through 4 in the WCRA leaderboard, we're going to refund your open fees because you're not eligible to use those anymore. You only get 1 opportunity in the main event per discipline. So, for example, if an athlete was number 1 in the breakaway roping, but number 8 in the team roping heading, then they would automatically be in to the main event on the breakaway side. And if they entered the open, we would refund those breakaway open fees. And same thing for fast track. The top 4 from the fast track, once they get in to the main event, they're done until the main event, and we'll refund any open fees that they had.
Fantastic. Now, there's a little bit of difference, just so everybody knows, in the progression in the roping disciplines and team roping and breakaway, both heading, heeling, obviously, and breakaway, and barrels. So is now their time? Would you like to talk about those little couple differences, Casey,
Absolutely.
and kind of why they are?
Yes, and again, we've got a focus group that we've worked with, and industry leaders and athletes to go through some of this. And one of the things that we talked about on the barrel racing is limitations of runs on the horses. Not everybody's horse will run in the barrel racing multiple rounds in a day like you can on a roping horse. So we've modified the barrel racing just a little bit. The first modification is in the fast track. That will only be 1 round versus 2 rounds. So top 4 fastest times will advance to the main event from there. And then in the WCRA leaderboard pool and the Open of the World qualifier pools, the progression from there is based on the top 18 fastest times from 2 rounds of competition. And that is not the aggregate. That is the fastest 18 times over 2 rounds. And that was built based on the fact that if somebody is in a fast time and maybe smoked them in the first round, it gives them the opportunity to not have to run their horse a second round if they don't want to. And so that is a key point that we wanted to put in there.
Yeah, that's listening to the field, listening to the athletes, what's important to those ladies, and we hope that that makes sense to everybody.
Right, and so one thing we want to talk about here, and we'll get into payouts in the future when we talk about equal money. Even though the payout structure is different between the roping disciplines and the barrel racing, the amount of money per pool will be equal in every discipline. So it doesn't matter how many people are in that pool, but a pool A in the barrel racing is going to have the exact same amount of money as pool A in each of the roping disciplines as well. So that's where we're coming with equal money. The payout structure may be slightly different, but the availability of the money is still there at the same levels.
And technically speaking, although the final first place and the whole payout hasn't been set yet, but it's forthcoming, first in each discipline, is it going to pay the same, Casey?
Yes. Yeah. Each discipline will pay across the board the same amount of money. Barrel racing, breakaway roping, heading, and heeling will all earn the same amount of money in the top 24. And that inclusives that all 24 athletes in the main event will get a check, regardless of their final position.
It's a big deal. We also have a big all-around bonus, and we'll be announcing very soon the details on that. We'll be covering that in a future Women's Rodeo World Championship live Wednesday. But you're going to like the all-around bonus. It's significant. It's going to be a big deal.
So the next change in the barrel racing has to do with the re-entry option from the WCRA leaderboard. Due to the timing of how the estimated competition format will be, we will not be able to finish the WCRA leaderboard pool prior to the Open starting. So instead of being able to go from the leaderboard to the Open on a re-entry, all re-entries from both the WCRA side and the Open side will have a shot at the redemption round. And it's the same process there. The top 10 from the redemption round move to the progressive. The bottom 12 from the Elite 18 move to the progressive. And then again, the top 10 from the progressive move to the main event. So the same format, 4 from Nominate when you're in, the top 4 from the leaderboard, top 6 from the Elite 18, and the top 10 from the progressive fill out the top 24.
And Casey, is it safe to say that the 4 is from the Nominate when you're inside, provided we have 16 that qualify in the Nominate when you're in fast track, we will pull 4 into the main event. In the event that we have 10 Nominate when you're in winners who actually won the event and nominated it, we reserve the right to adjust that a little bit to make that more fair. Is that safe to say?
Yes, it is, because it's very likely that somebody in the top 4 of the leaderboard, number 1 through 4, may have earned one of those Nominate winning your in positions for the fast track. Well, with those athletes already being seeded, they don't need that Nominate winning your in piece. So as we've been talking about this internally, it is up to 16 athletes for the fast track pool. And once we get the ground rules put out, there will be a chart based on the number of actual contestants as to how many we will take from fast track. for into the main event. Any open positions, for example, if we only take 3 and we need to fill that 4th position, that 4th position will actually be rolled over into the Elite 18, and then we will take the top 7 versus the top 6.
Perfect. This banner that I threw up there that talks about any female athlete over the age of 13 is eligible to compete. Maybe touch on just briefly, because, the youth segment that we had open prior to the COVID and the whole world getting turned on its ear was different than this Women's Rodeo World Championships segment, which is labeled W20. Could you touch or add a little bit of color to that, just a little bit, Case?
Sure. WCRA on the standard for anything is 13 years of age and older in all disciplines, pending the association or the event promoter's ground rules that you want to nominate. So, but for our events, it's 13 years of age and up at the time that you enter, because being through the virtual rodeo qualifier, we follow the COPA, Child Online Privacy Protection Act, to make sure that we're going by those standards. So that is the reason we use the year 13 years of age and older. In our Division Y that you're referencing on our youth initiative, that is 13 years and up. And again, we say up because that is due to promoter standards and ground rules. We know that certain associations have a different top level on those ability to nominate and enter those.
Great. Thank you. What else you want to show us?
That's the format. So I hope everybody understands that there's a lot, and Marcus Lee put a note up that sounds like there's a bunch of built-in incentives to climb your way up the leaderboard. There absolutely is, but there's also a lot of opportunity within this format to advance to the main event. You get opportunities not only through straight paths, but a couple re-entry options as well in there. So even if you're just coming through the open, if you don't qualify on the leaderboard, you still have multiple opportunities to advance to the main event and get into some really good money.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to bring everybody else back in. Don't hesitate to ask questions. Everybody, we're here. We're ready, willing, and able to answer your questions. So is there anything, Scott, Sammy Joe, that you've heard me stumble through that I didn't get quite right, or that you'd like to add color or correct?
Unfortunately, this is like a live broadcast, so I'm not going to give you guys a hard time. But no, I thought everybody did a fantastic job. I noticed in some of the comments and questions, there's an intensity to the team roping pairings and things like that. I think, to elaborate on that, I think it's important for everybody to understand that, generally speaking, Casey, would it be right to say that sort of at every juncture, when there's a reset in the competition at the, after the fast track, at the progressive round, there will be repairing opportunities? Is that generally speaking correct to say?
Correct. So as you enter, that's where you pair up manually. And then in the fast track, you'll repair. And then in the main event, you'll have the option to repair as well. So really it's almost 3 events in one.
Right.
The WCRA leaderboard, the open, and then the main event.
Right.
There's a lot to it. As was alluded earlier, we're working through some of this format. And as we answer these questions, we're working on the ground rules, which are currently 19 pages. We're trying to slim those down, but it takes a lot to explain this. So as we talk through this every time, we learn a little bit more about how to explain it and how to get into the process where everybody will understand it better.
So I wanted to mention, we feel you guys answered a question from Erica earlier, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, and Sammy Joe may be able to correct me on this, but Erica was one of our recent Nominate Win Your Ends at the Spoke, and I believe in the incentive, and I think her question was incentive related. Like maybe she's got another question up here.
Oh, here,
what if you win?
I'm sorry to switch it out. Was this is this the one you were referring to? I'm sorry.
Yeah, she had asked that question and you guys addressed it. But what I wanted to point out, someone else had asked about the entry fee, and Casey answered that question as well. As there'll be a discounted initially at $500, a midterm at $625, and then the late entry or the retail entry is $750 for an event that pays out $750,000 collectively, right? But if you look at Erica's case, $150 nomination, boom, she wins. She's in the fast track now, right? So for $150, she has a chance to rope against 15 other teams for 4 spots. They got to beat 11 other teams in that round. And for $150, she's in the 24 with a chance to repair, as things develop throughout the competition, right? So, I thought that was great that we took a question from her. I hope that we've answered it, that yes, you're in. $150 nomination last week, Nominate Win Your In event, boom, you're in the fast track. You'll get to pair up when that field's set. And if you're in those 4 girls, you can stay hooked with your partner, or you can repair when you reset for the main event, right?
Right.
If knock on wood, not wishing anybody bad luck, but you miss in that fast track round, boom, she just holds right into the leaderboard round. She probably got a pile of points for winning that, Division II roping event, right? So she's in the top 64. She competes there. If she's not satisfied with that, you have a redemption round possibility if she didn't purchase her other 2 entries, right? And as Casey pointed out too, let's just say she bought her 2 entries in the Open to the World. She's in the 4 of the fast track. We're going to send her money back, right? I mean, so we're just describing sort of the way this thing falls together in a competitive standpoint. But I think Erica is a great example that for $150, she's basically in. So I appreciate her watching today, and I hope that I was largely correct on those examples I used.
And thank you, Scott.
And got a second question too that I think we need to address. I think it's a good one here. We kind of touched on it earlier, and Erica, the first thing to answer your question is, if you have a partner that you travel with all the time and they're not nominating, you need to change partners. So, because if you want to roll with somebody in the main event and the fast track,
depends on how good they are. If they're really good, then Erica might consider paying her next nomination fee. You know what I'm saying? So we'll leave that up to Erica and her partner. But good point, Casey.
But Erica,
they need to be nominating.
Yeah. To answer your question, again, the 16 athletes that have the Nominate Winning You're In, even though you pair up in the 64 for the WCRA pool, you will repair at the same time for the eligible athletes that are in the top 16 for the Nominate Winning You're In. So, and again, we'll have to get into team roping because we're still working through these ground rules of how this is going to work. But if you, Eric, if you advance on those top 4 and you're roping with somebody that you've never met or you don't know very well and you want to rope with somebody else in the main event, you can repair in the main event. But what happens to your partner that you had in the 64? We're still working through all those. We're going to have to figure out, we're going to put the rules in of how we repair the broken pairs based on the fast track. So I hope that answers your question.
I just need to point out.
Yeah, and I think there are a few.
I have the coolest water bottle in my office building, and we have these stickers available. Huh?
You win the backdrop award for the first broadcast as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Sammy Joe, you think we should answer some questions. I know. Let's answer Allison. I know that somebody answered her in the chat, but how would you answer that, Sammy
Yeah,
Jo?
so there are a couple. Yep. So tomorrow is the first leaderboard update for the women's segment. So check out WCRArodeo.com. You can also write in your app, go to Leaderboards. And as of tomorrow afternoon, the women's points and the women's leaderboard will show live in both of those places. So those of you that have nominated prior, starting May 18th, your points will now show starting tomorrow. And Jamie Brown chimed in and asked, can you just say one more time what the cutoff date is to earn points for the women's segment? And that is October 11th at 11:59 p.m. You have to continue nominating, keep earning points. Top 1 through 4, as a reminder, go right into the main event. So good goal to put down today to get those points and be in the top 4.
And I want to point out too, if I can, Erica came back and commented that she said her partner did nominate at the Spoke. Maybe her name was Aspen. Sammy Jo, you may remember, yep. But so Aspen we weren't throwing any partners under the bus, but I think those are all very good questions, and as everyone can see, there's multiple ways to qualify, and then once achieved, there's multiple ways to progress. But listen, that's an incentive team. They're in the fast track. You know what I mean? So for the team roping world who, maybe, doesn't believe that they could compete with some of the best in the world. Here's a perfect example of Erica and Aspen. They're at the front of the line, buddy. And if they can put it together in that run, they got nothing else to worry about. They're going for a major payday, right? So, I'm most excited about this tiering aspect, and we hope to only grow those processes from here as far as the WCRA is concerned, and in the future of the events that we produce. So we're really excited about that. I thought today was great. JD, Casey, Sammy Jo, great job. I don't want to take, any more of anybody's time. Feel free I'll answer any questions, but JD, back to you.
Thank you. Marcus had a quick question here. Who wants to take that?
I can take that. So Marcus, once the teams are paired together, they will advance through those rounds of qualifying together until they either are out of competition or make it into the main event. So at each of those junctures to where a team has the opportunity to repair, then that pair will stay together throughout that next portion of the competition run. So again, it's your team advances based on your time. So there's no way to go and say that, you can't break a team up because that team did have a time that beat another team. So I hope that answers your question.
Good job. Is there anything else that anybody has? I guess I asked the question, but I want to make a statement. We're super excited about the Women's Rodeo World Championships. Again, it's a $750,000 guaranteed payout event. And we're paying out equal money across all 4 disciplines: barrels, breakaway, heeling, and heading. And girls can tie on. Okay, so if you rope feet well and you just haven't dallied a lot over the years, now's your chance. So get with an old man or another gal and learn how to tie on and enter some ropings. You have an opportunity in the team roping to enter mixed team ropings and nominate those events and earn points to qualify in the top 64. There's a lot of nominate, win, and you're in events out there that you can actually participate in. Be sure if you enter a nominate, win, you're in, be sure to log into app.wcrarodeo.com and click on W20, which is the segment specific for the women's finals that we're talking about today. And if you win that sucker and you nominated it, you've got one of those 16 spots, up to 16 spots. So there's just a lot of opportunity here. We're super excited. Big all around bonus. You're going to like it. It's a big number. I wish I wasn't old and I'm a guy, so that doesn't work either. But
nice try, Dave.
Nice try.
I believe the ground rules do say biological female. I would kick it to Casey for that clarification, but
yeah, there will be no vet checks to go through any of that.
I just want to add one thing here, JD, is like, the four of us have been in rodeo our entire lives, and mostly, and I've been through a lot of different variations of this business, but there's not a whole lot of new things in our rodeo business, and this is new. This format, this new concept, the equal money across the board, it's exciting to be a part of this and to be able to usher in this next new thing in an industry that doesn't have very many new things in it. So,
absolutely.
And JD, I want to mention too, Sammy Joe. You can correct me, but I believe that all of the Nominate When You're In events, we post some sort of notice or promotion prior to the events on the WCRA Athletes Facebook page. Is that correct?
We have it it's posted on the website, womensrodeoworldchampionship.com.
Okay.
And each week we're posting upcoming events. And I think we should take just a moment to thank the producers that are coming on board and being.
We lost you there quickly, Sammy Joe. Are you there?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Yeah, I was just taking a second to thank the producers. I don't know what happened to my internet, but
that's a great point.
Go ahead, Scott.
Well, I was just going to say it's a great point, Sammy Joe. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's probably worth saying here too that the WCRA has established relationships with, I think we're closing in on 275 different alliance partners worldwide. And so those partners are very important. And this Nominate When You're In opportunity for the fast track is getting early traction, and that's exciting. And so if you're out there competing, stay tuned to that athlete's Facebook page, because those nominate and win, there's only 16 of them. So over the course of this summer, those are going to dry up pretty quick. The beauty of entering those events is even if you don't win first, but you do nominate it, you're getting your points. So, I would encourage the gals to pay attention to that, because that fast track's a great opportunity, but it's not a lost cause when you don't win, because you're just stacking up the points for your leaderboard. And I think that we probably can't say enough. Casey pointed out the benefits and the compliment, or the prompt entry fees, and the hotel room and stalls for the top four, the stalls for the Nominate When You're In girls, and then when the early entry process gets in, the opportunities to compete. If you fall out of the WCRA pipeline, there's just another chance at each juncture in one of the other tiers of the competition. So I would say the WCRA leaderboard, Nominate When You're In, is great. The leaderboard is the best way to get in 24 for that main event. The best odds, without question.
Yeah. And again, highlighting, if you earn a spot via the virtual rodeo qualifier coming in on the W20 leaderboard, no entry fees. So it doesn't mean that you can't enter the open pool, the open path. But as Scott, everybody has alluded to, we appreciate you all, and we encourage you to get out there. Of the rodeos and the ropens, the jackpots, barrel racings, and ropens that are happening, get to nominating them, and let's get to Vegas. Let's have some fun,
Well, and let's say those dates again. Mark your calendars, November 3rd through the 7th, Las Vegas at the South Point Arena. that's your goal. So we hope to see y'all there and start nominating today.
Absolutely. And we're going to do this again. If you have anything that we didn't cover, if you have questions about what we did cover, anything at all, don't hesitate to reach out. Post it in this thread on this Facebook Live. We're going to get this out there. We're going to promote this, and so share it with your friends. Everybody in the industry. We want everybody to be educated, because as Casey said, there's not a lot of new things that come around in the rodeo business, and this is new. And there's been, I think, safe to say, hundreds, maybe close to 1,000 man hours been put in, just on the structure and getting this thing condensed down, and ground rules and the actual live event and competition. And so there's been a lot of thought that has gone into this. I want to thank you, Casey, for kind of leading the charge on the structure of this thing, and Scott, thank you for the presenting the origin story. We're going to have Bobby Mode on. Who knows who we're going to have on? Sammy Joe, thank you for always being the liaison between the athletes and the WCRA and all the things that we're trying to do. A lot of times we're so far ahead, from my perspective, so far ahead of the industry that it's hard to absorb it if you're not in our world and hear what crazy ideas we're coming up with. And I know that it's been said, but we want to thank the PBR and our leadership for having the courage, truly, to step out and announce this event, and then get behind it. And because we think that we're a part of something, really big. So I think, does anybody have anything? Scott, do you want to say something?
JD, I'm glad you mentioned the PBR, and I just want to point out, if we failed to say it earlier, this event is in conjunction with PBR World Finals. So the beauty of that, that's a huge event, a huge media platform. We intend to cross-promote where applicable in the local Vegas market. It's a tremendous platform for these women athletes to be alongside or in concert with PBR World Finals. So, if you get to come, bring your family, go watch the greatest bull riding in the world, and we look forward to seeing everybody in Vegas.
Scott, I want to add one piece of that. It's not only just during the PBR World Finals. The Professional Bull Riders is a partner in this event. They're the ones that kind of help with this, as Scott mentioned at the beginning. So we're just not tagging on their event. They're actually co-producing this with us.
Absolutely. Great point, Casey.
Great. Sammy Joe, do you have any parting words for us? Any words of wisdom?
Go ladies. Let's show these guys what we can do. So get out there and nominate. And as always, if you ever have questions or need help nominating or anything, reach out to our team via Facebook, call us, email us, whatever's easiest for you, and we'll help you out.
Great. Share this thing. Please share it with all your friends. We want to get the word out. So I think we're ready to sign off. Everybody ready to sign off? Virtual high five, everybody. Boom. Good job, team. All right. See y'all later. Bye-bye.